Hello guys,
Hello guys.
welcome to our channel again, and thanks for watching this video.
Yeah.
We are still on this Morocco matter, and this time around we are going to be talking about 10 things, ten things that we think you should know before visiting Morocco.
Yeah.
We've done a couple of other videos on Morocco. You can check them out on our channel.
Yeah.
And just to see how our trip to Morocco was like. So we're going to be talking about 10 things. And so what's the first thing you think people should be aware of before visiting Morocco?
Yeah, so the first thing on our list that you need to be aware of before visiting Morocco is language. As you know, language is like a major part of our lives, right? It's how we communicate. So you need to know that if you are going to Morocco, there are about 3 major languages that are spoken in Morocco, depending on what part of Morocco you are visiting. Number 1 is Arabic. Number 2 is French and Spanish. Yeah. So mostly in the northern part of Morocco, they speak Spanish.
Yeah, and that's because that part is sort of close to
Spain border.
Yeah. And it's interesting also because like Morocco was colonized by French, partly by French, partly by Spain as well, and even some parts Portuguese as well. But the Portuguese influence has really gone down. So it's largely Arabic, French and
Spanish.
To a lesser extent Spanish.
Yeah.
So not that people don't speak English there, right? But in the streets or in the locality or like almost everywhere you go, you need to be able to converse in either of those languages.
Yeah, and English is not an official language, like to say.
And when we were there, actually, we had to rely on Google Translate a whole lot.
So super helpful, to be honest.
Super helpful, but at some point also frustrating because there are some things you just want to say that, it's just hard to put in Google Translate. And depending on where you go or depending on where you find yourself at some point, not everybody might also be able to read from a phone or, read exactly right. So that might also be challenging as well. Like I said, depending on where you are. I recall a place where we needed to get recharge card in one of the
that experience was something else.
It was so cumbersome that the man had to go call his daughter, who I think is going to school, to come and interpret or read what we're trying to show him. Before we eventually go through. So you should be aware of that before visiting Morocco, especially if you're English speaking. But if you're Arabic speaking or if you're French speaking, then you're in good hands.
You have not so much to worry about. But our major thing will be that Google Translate is there for you to help you. So if you cannot speak French or Arabic, then you can rely on Google Translate. But before your travel, maybe pick up 1 or 2 things, like what's that French word that we learned? When you want to say you can't comprehend or you don't understand.
This might be wrong, but je ne comprends français. Je ne pas comprends français.
You said that many times.
I said that a lot of times, because when I get to, even at the airport, right? When leaving, the guy was speaking in French and he had said everything in French before I'm like, je ne pas comprends français.
And he had to start
again in
all
English.
over in English.
Well, I'm not sure if that's how to say it in French, but the essence or the point I'm trying to communicate is that I don't understand French. So I just say anglais. So when anybody starts speaking in French, I just say anglais. And once I say anglais, they try to say the bit of English that they can say. Okay. And I think the second thing you should be aware of, especially if you're a content creator or if you use drones a lot to shoot your content or your videos, drones aren't express entry into Morocco. So I think you need to declare them at the airport. There's also a place where it's written clearly at the airport that you need to declare your drones. Or better still, you should try to get approval or some permission, before using drones in Morocco. As you know, right, Morocco is a kingdom ruled by a king. So, and the entire cultural or political structure of Morocco is just different from wherever you might be coming from elsewhere in the world, right? So there is a bit of privacy that is appreciated. So for you to be able to use a drone to shoot anything, I think you would have to go through some routes before you get that done.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you should
True.
know. And I think the third thing on our list is the socket type. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So let me say the socket type. When we first got to Morocco, that was like we couldn't charge our phones because we didn't come prepared. So we don't want you to go through the same stress. So we are going to tell you that the kind of socket that is used in Morocco is not the American or the UK style or the Nigerian style. Is quite different.
So it's something like this with just 2 mounts.
Yeah.
Right. Our chargers had like a 3-point kind of chargers. And but what we found is that the sockets in Morocco are just two round holes that you can plug in your charger or whatever, so when we got to Morocco, we found that challenging, and this also links back to the language thing we talked about earlier. So late at night, we tried taking a walk around to see if we can find like an adapter of this kind. Now, where we first went to, because the guy didn't also understand English, we were trying to ask him if this would work for our type of charger, right? But he didn't understand what we're saying, so we had to stress ourselves a bit, just checking around and all of that before we eventually got this. And we just took a gamble on it and went into our hotel and tried it, and it worked for us. Yeah. So be sure before leaving for Morocco to get a kind of charger or a type of adapter that would fit into the socket wherever it might be, because you don't want to run out of battery. We had a power bank which still sort of saved us for some bit of time, right? But of course you needed to charge laptops and some other stuff, so this came very handy.
Yeah.
And I think the next thing you should know about Morocco before you go there is the weather, and that largely depends on what time of the year you're going. Right? So at the time we went, it was very hot, right? It was averaging about 30 something degrees.
So
it was very hot. So you need to check the weather before going. Be sure that your dresses are selected to match the weather. Right? You don't want to pick something too thick when it's very hot, and you don't want to pick something too light when it's very cold in Morocco. So you want to dress according to the weather, I would say.
For us, we went around this time we are shooting the video, so April, May, and it was quite hot, as I said, around 30 degrees. So if you are going, I don't know, maybe they are cold, or winter time is towards the end part of the year, but just try and do your research to know how the weather is going to be and the weather forecast before traveling.
And I think the other thing you should know before visiting Morocco, especially if you are going to be taking trips outside or in between towns rather. So let's say you're going to be moving from Marrakech, which is like in the center, to maybe somewhere in the north or somewhere in the south, you should know that you're going to experience regular police stops. These guys are usually dressed in like gray or ash kind of uniforms, and I don't know what they call them, but they're different from the regular police within the towns of Morocco. Now, why is this important? This is particularly important if you are going to be hiring your own private vehicle in Morocco. So if you are going to be driving by yourself, right, you should know this, because there are going to be regular police stops, so you might be asked for your papers, you might be asked certain questions and all of that. And one thing you should know as well is that there are hidden cameras on the way along this route, so they are checking your speed. So you want to ensure that you are using, say, Google Map that shows you where these cameras are spotted, so that you are reducing your speeds accordingly. We experienced that a lot of time, where suddenly our driver will be going brrrr, and it just slows down all of a sudden. That's because he knows that he's going to soon arrive at a police checkpoint, so it's going to try and slow down to match the speed, so that it doesn't get a ticket. You want to add anything to that?
I think that's just it. You don't want to get tickets and spend the money for your trip on trying to pay the police for what you've done or something. So you just need to be wary of everything that we've said.
Talking about that as well, another thing you should be aware of when visiting Morocco is that you should be wary of where you make purchases. And talking about purchases, I'm not talking of regular grocery or whatever. I'm talking of maybe artifact or handicraft, ceramics, rugs, clothes, oil products and stuff like that. And the reason why this is very important is because what we found in Morocco is that different parts of Morocco have their specialty.
Yeah.
Right. So you go to some part of Morocco, you find that their strength in that place is the argan oil, which is very popular in Morocco. You go to some other places, you also find that their strength is ceramics, like Fez,
like
for
Fez.
instance. Right. So you don't want to leave Fez to go and buy ceramic in Casablanca. You know, so it's not like you're going to be buying something fake, but you want to be assured that you are buying
the best.
Yeah, the best where it is being made.
Yeah.
But notwithstanding as well, it also means that what's it called? When you are buying those stuffs where they are being made, you might likely find better deals, right? And you might also find quality stuffs compared to buying it outside of where it's been made, right? So you should sort of take note of that as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's very spot on, and I think that will now speak to our next point as well about haggling, right? Because if you are buying, as I said, from the source or where that city is most known for, then you have better chances to haggle for better deals, right? So I think you'll be the best to speak about the haggling part, because in fact I have to tell you guys, many people also mentioned the fact that my husband is a good negotiator. So I think is the best person to talk about the haggling part, because you have to haggle when you want to buy in Morocco.
To negotiate well.
Oh my God, you can spend like 30 minutes for us, and because he also doesn't back down, we spent like 30, close to an hour, you know, trying to get the best deals.
Well,
and I have to tell you that
an exaggeration.
No, I said close to. We got good deals. I don't know if you could have gotten better deals, but in my own opinion, we got very, very good deals.
Yeah, so you need to be able to haggle, and that's also because these guys know that you're a tourist. It's written all over you. I mean, for instance, at some point I tried dressing like Moroccans, so that, but I mean, my language or my accent is gonna give me
your skin color,
exactly, right?
Yeah.
So these guys would know that you are a tourist, so they will want to put a bit of a premium or whatever they want to sell to you. So you shouldn't just take it off like that. Rather, you should try to negotiate and beat down the price as much as you can.
True.
You know, as much as you can, and that also brings me to another point that, you know, as we spoke earlier, as to being careful of what you purchase stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you go to very touristy places to buy stuff, you can expect that it's going to be very expensive there compared to going to somewhere just casual. And I'm going to give you an instance, right? For instance, the popular tangine pot in Morocco that is used for making the tangine dishes is made of ceramic.
Yeah.
And Fez is popular for ceramics, right? And we didn't buy those stuffs in Fez. Rather, we chose to buy just along the roadside on the expressway while going, right? Because those places are not very touristy. A regular person wouldn't go to the roadside on an isolated expressway to just buy stuffs, you know. So we found cheaper stuffs at those locations than buying it in the very touristy areas where they know that a lot of people would come, and it's going to be more expensive there.
Yeah.
So, but whenever you choose to buy whatever you want to buy, ensure that you negotiate very well, before you pay. Of course, we're not talking of buying bread or buying you know, regular stuffs here, but if you want to buy souvenir items, right, you want to ensure that you are getting away with a good deal.
Yeah. And feel free to come for private lessons with him.
And I think another thing, which I think is the number 8 thing you should be aware of before visiting Morocco, is the internet and voice calling. So when we were in Morocco, we used Orange all through. It wasn't a bad network, to be fair. So you buy, I think it's about 10 dirham per gig, right? So if you want to get 5 gig, you're going to pay about 50 dirham, and then you can get maybe an hour of voice call national as well. But you need to get a SIM card and recharge sufficiently, you know, on that card, because you don't want to get into a situation where you run out of data and you're unable to make a call to your tour guide, or, you know, message your tour guide on WhatsApp or on any platform. And what we realized is that Wi-Fi is a bit of an issue in Morocco.
Not a bit, actually. An issue because almost all
the hotels that
we
we
lodged
stayed
did
had
not
bad
have
Wi-Fi.
good Wi-Fi
Like all
connection.
the ones we stayed in the Riyadh or the one we stayed in the city center and stuff like that, they had bad Wi-Fi. I initially thought this was something specific to the locations we stayed, but after our trip, I messaged our tour guide and complained to him about that, and then he told me that it's a general
problem.
issue. Yeah, it's a general Wi-Fi problem. So the Wi-Fi isn't very, very strong in every location that you might find yourself. So you might want to rely on mobile internet. So you need to get a good SIM and recharge sufficiently on that. And the number 19 is commuting within Morocco. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
No, I think you can go for that as well.
Okay, that's fine. So commuting around Morocco. So to start with, right, when we went to Morocco, we first touched down in Marrakech.
Yeah.
So we stayed for some days in Marrakech, and of course there are the petite taxis in Marrakech. I think they're about yellow in color, and there are the bigger taxis as well. Now those bigger ones would have been challenging for us to use because of course we can't communicate in the local dialect. So having to use them might be challenging. And even the smaller ones, right, what we just did was to call an empty cab and try and negotiate a price to wherever we want to go, and then they take us there. So let's say we want to go from our hotel to the Jamal Fnal Square or a particular restaurant. We just show them on the map. I put my price bargain on Google Translate, and we just communicate through Google Translate. Or I think most of these vehicles also have a meter that's supposed to read the distance.
But I don't think they use it.
Yeah, I don't think many of them use it, right? As a matter of fact, one of them, a regular, just a random passerby I approached, told me, oh, I should tell the driver that I'm going to report them to the police. But of course, for someone like us who can't even speak the language, how do you threaten? You know, so, but that was what we did. And there's also this app called Roby. I think I'm going to try and put it in the caption. I think it's roby.taxi or so. I think it was also helpful. And personally, I think the price wasn't far off from hiring like a private taxi just for you. So it was still fair because at the end of the day, when you use that app to order for a cab, it's still those taxis that come to pick you up, but it's just you. Yeah, that it's going to be in the cab. So it was useful within Marrakech. It was useful also in Casablanca as well. So I think we found that quite useful.
I think also Karim is very popular within Morocco, but he works mostly in
Casablanca,
specific cities like Casablanca as well. And as he said, the prices also wasn't really far off from the regular. I think
Karim is a bit premium than the Roby one I mentioned. Actually, I think Karim is a bit on the high side to be fair. And talking about commuting, we made a mistake that you shouldn't make, right? And that was in Casablanca.
Oh, okay, I remember.
When we got to Casablanca late in the night, about almost 12 a.m. From the train station. Now, our hotel was far from the Casablanca train station. Our hotel was rather closer to the Casablanca airport than the Casablanca train station. And to move from the airport, from the train station to a place as far as that, you need the bigger taxis. The smaller taxis, even if it's just going to be only you inside, the smaller taxis won't take you there. Only the bigger taxis. And the bigger taxis were expensive. Very expensive for like, say, a 30-minute ride and stuff like that. So you need to make sure that the location of your hotel is within range. Or even if it's outside of range, depending on your preference, you need to be aware of what the cost implication might be. You know, commuting from the hotel to other locations that you might intend to visit while you are in Morocco or in Casablanca or elsewhere.
Spot on.
And the last one that we think you should be aware of before visiting Morocco, I'm going to leave it to her to talk about that.
You know, I know why you're leaving it to me, right? So no offense to cat lovers, but for me, I think one of the
She's
things
scared
that I
of
did not
cats.
really like was that in Morocco there are so many
So
cats.
many cats everywhere.
Oh my God! Everywhere you go, there are
find cats in Morocco.
In the restaurants, in the masjid, in
Everywhere.
just mention everywhere there are cats, and so this kind of didn't make me comfortable in certain places, but I just had to let go as much as I could. I mean, when I'm going to show you guys at some point, I even took like a picture with a cat. I wasn't like so close to it, but for me it was a very good milestone because I don't like cats at all. And so just know that you're going to see many cats in Morocco, so you might end up falling in love if you don't love cats, and if you love cats already, then
good one. For me, I wasn't really scared of the cats anyway, but she has this phobia for cats, and you even find these cats in places you would think you wouldn't find, like in a kind of posh, clean
premium hotel, right? You are still gonna find
you
cats.
just find cats crippled under your table eating,
Oh my God.
So if you are not a cat person, you might want to be aware about that as well before you go, and just ensure that you take regular measures. These cats aren't harmful, to be honest. They just go their way looking for what to eat, so it's not much of a big deal for you to be scared of. But we just felt it's going to be good to mention this. So those are the top 10 things we think you should be aware of before visiting Morocco. If you have visited Morocco before and you think there should be more, you can also include that in the comments below
section,
and let's everybody know. Let's hear from you. And cheers. We hope you enjoyed this video.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys some other time. Bye.
Bye.
Hi guys. Thank you for watching our video.
Don't forget to like,
subscribe,
and share.